Welcome back. Dale Myers with Vision Advanced. Today we're going to talk about, are you running your business or is your business running you? It's actually a very fair question to ask because if you've been doing this for a while, you've gone through the periods of time where you're constantly working, and you feel like you're not getting where you need to be. And I'm not just talking about in the startup phase where everything is always a grind and it's always you're pushing an uphill battle, but even after that, you've been around for a little bit, you figured some things out, and your business is actually making some money, but you come home every day tired. So again, this is a very fair question, and if this is you, just understand that it's not unique to you. You are not the first, and certainly not the last. Okay. Um, so again, one example of how this happens is, again, you're putting in the time, you're putting in the work, business is doing well, and you're so busy delivering the goods, delivering the product or service, that you actually don't take or make time to plan out other things. You don't take the time to go out and sell more. You don't take the time to plan to grow your business. I've seen that uh, in my own business. So I wouldn't say the first business, but the most recent business that I've had for the last few years, since like 2010, is a tutoring and test prep business, or at least it kind of started that way. And I love tutoring. I love, doing that. I'm a math and science geek, and I love working with kids. And the thing is that you get caught up in, you, especially during the busy season, you're making that money, and you look up, you're like, oh, and you get done with your last client, and it's late in the evening, and I still got, I have younger kids, so I need to go home and love on my kids for a while and do all these things. And again, you kind of look up, you feel like you're on a treadmill, right? What is that? The little hamster wheel, right? Just going around and around. And so again, if that's you, then again, just know that you're not the only one. Um, and I guess before I leave, that is the critical takeaway is, because you're sort of on that wheel, you're not, and I wasn't taking the time to plan for the next phase of development, the next phase of growth. Startup is one phase, and then there are different phases of business depending on where you're trying to get to. Number two, similar kind of situation. You're busy, you're grinding, and you look up, money's being made, but you're not as happy as you thought you would be. You're not as fulfilled. The reason being because you're so busy that you're not enjoying yourself. You're not doing some of the things that you always said you wanted to start this business so that you'd have more flexibility to do the things that you enjoy. But you're constantly delivering the goods, delivering the service. And again, you look up, some other things are missing. Again, in my life, so I am a football junkie. Love football. Played it since I was age 8. Coached it in the last 25 or more years, right? From youth league to middle school. Been a high school head football coach. Did a little semi-pro. Love me some football. And in my other business, tutoring and test prep, it's difficult to coach football in the way that I want to coach football, because at the high school level, it's a big commitment and it takes a lot of time. But during the time that I'll be at practice or meeting with players and breaking down film, I'm actually tutoring, because as you might expect, most of my clients are after school. So that, there's been times where I haven't coached for a couple of years because business was good. But again, I started the business to give me flexibility to do the things that I want. And trust me, football is almost like the non-negotiable, if you know me. That's the thing that just gives me goosebumps. I love math and science, but football is the thing. So again, how does that fit for some of you guys? You're probably in there or been there before. And then the last example, you're making money one way, but still not feeling fulfilled because either that's not what you really want to do, or it's only a part of what you want to do. But again, because you're so caught up in the day-to-day routine that you're not moving forward to the next phase. Reflecting on myself again, when I started this business, the goal was not to launch a tutoring and test prep company. That was supposed to be a part of what it is that I was doing. However, like a lot of you, I started my business during tough financial times. And the one thing I knew I could sell was tutoring and test prep. But the whole company was going to do exactly what's on the shirt now that I've offered: tutoring and test prep, football training, business, and entrepreneurship. Because again, I've already talked about football. So if you think about it, don't a lot of the kids that I coach, they may need tutoring, right? Um, and then the business and entrepreneurship. So here's the thing. I'll give you a short diatribe here. I'll try to keep it brief. Football to me is a powerful tool for shaping young men's lives. Now, I love football, but I also love the ability to pour into people and change their trajectory. Football is a mighty tool that can give you discipline and the grit that is necessary to persevere through the tough parts of life that we know as adults. We know that they are coming. What I've also found is that music business, a lot of kids want to be singers, rappers, or whatever, musicians. I've also been able to use that as a carrot. Again, I used to actually be in the music business. I used to run a record label, management company, and was an artist for a while myself. Well, I should say I'm still an artist. I just don't actively practice, right? But in working with kids in some neighborhoods in the Atlanta area where I was based for 25 or so years, I found that desire to want to move forward, just like in football, you as a football coach, you can get players to do things uh, that they wouldn't otherwise do. I found that I could do that with a recording studio too. Some of the guys in the neighborhood who weren't handling their business in school, they would come around and, in order to use my studio for free or for the low, they had to bring me their progress report and other things. And, it's again, this is a diatribe, so I'll get back off of it. But the point being, these things were related. I never set out to just start a tutoring company. I really wanted to do more than that, right? I was trying to touch lives in different ways. But tutoring has been good to me, no complaints. But I look up and I'm not doing the other things. All right. So again, some of y'all can probably relate. You're kind of like, man, this is good, but I really want to do more. I want to do something different. All right. So what's the solution? Because there's no point in talking about things if we don't talk about how we can get better. So I will tell you what's been working for me. So step one, revisit your big why. Why did you start this business in the first place? And I've already just told you about my why. I wanted to be a part of changing the trajectory of students' lives by teaching critical thinking skills, problem solving skills that they will need as adults. Now, this was done under the guise of tutoring and test prep, but it was all teaching critical thinking and leadership. All right. That's why I started this business. The tools that I used were test prep, tutoring, football, and music business and business training in general. But that's why I started this business. So that was my big why. What's your why? So that's step one. Revisit your why. Is it still valid? I had asked myself, is that still valid? And if it is, in my case, yes, it's still valid. Now the only question becomes, where do I want to go from here? So I literally went back and I put myself through a strategic planning process where I literally mapped out the vision again and rewrote the mission statement and dusted it off, talking about culture and values. And I have some previous videos on that, and I'll include those in the description below. But I went through that process, but you know what was going on when I was going through all of that? I literally put the tutoring sort of on hold. Honestly, now I'm not suggesting you do this, but for me, it made sense. I literally didn't go out and do any external promotions for a while. I was not filling up my pipeline. Not a great business move if you're trying to grow that side of the business. But remember, I wasn't. What I started doing was planning out how do I get my business training phase back up to where I want it to be. How do I build out my football training program? What kind of people do I need? So I started focusing on the people and the processes, and we'll revisit that. But as part of that strategic planning, I identified my core goals. What are the goals, the most important goals that I needed to set to make this vision come true? Remember, part of that strategic planning is setting the vision. What are the core goals that I need to fulfill in order to do that? And then, so that was step two. Step one was revisit your why. Step two was set your goals. Step three, prioritize. Now that I have those goals, again, prioritize and sequence as need be, because some things do need to happen in time, but sequence them and move forward. Now, again, you have to pay attention to the sequence. It's revisit the why, set goals, and then prioritize based on those goals. Which one goal will give me the biggest bang for my buck, and focus on that. Um, and part of that prioritizing, we touched on this earlier. You literally have to set aside time for planning. You have to set aside time. This can be daily, and again, this could be 10 to 15 minutes. Reflecting at night and thinking in the morning, just planning out your day. Remember, every 10 minutes spent planning saves about 1 hour in implementation. So it's worth it to you. And then set aside time for planning. Set aside at least an hour to hour and a half a day for marketing, going out and talking to customers, refining your customer avatar so that you know exactly who you're looking for, who you're targeting. Also, related to that, set aside at least an hour and a half every day for sales. And you have to, part of sales is, are we prospecting, or, are we at closing? We'll talk about sales in a future video or videos, but you need to be doing sales for at least an hour and a half a day. You need to. Now, some days you might do 3 hours of sales. Some days it might be only one because you're doing a whole bunch of marketing. But if you block out time, so listen, guys, every day, block out time for this. Every day, non-negotiable. It'll fix your business. I guarantee it. So marketing, sales, and then, okay, done all this planning. It shouldn't all be on you. If you've planned effectively, it's probably not on you. Now, there are some very successful businesses that can be run solo, and mine was for a number of years. But when it's time to grow and expand, now I have to say, what types of people do I need? And describe them. And again, talked about that in another video before. I would literally list 20 or more characteristics of every person that I needed for every job. Right now, again, I put the tutoring on hold to start working on the business training side. And then we have some educational products, some multimedia products we're developing. So I wrote out descriptions of all the people that I'm going to need, from audio engineers to songwriters and producers, to graphic designers. Literally wrote out everything that I want. Well, I'm kind of sort of still in the process because we aren't in full-fledged implementation there yet. But again, I'm just trying to give you a real life description on how to do this thing. And lastly, I put my people in place. Now, what processes do I need? Now, that one is huge, particularly if you're trying to, even whatever it is. It doesn't matter if you have a process, a product, or a service. Processes are important. If okay, tutoring and test prep, I still better have a sales process. I didn't used to have one, but I have one now. so that down the road, if I want to bring on new people, and I will be actively looking soon, I have a process into which I can put them in, and they don't have to fly off the cuff. They'll have some general things that we know we need that would do a good job of presenting our product and so on and so forth. So to recap, that one was huge. Prioritize. We said planning, marketing, sales. Then who are the people that you need? List 20 characteristics of each person, at least 20. More is better. Um, and processes. All right. So recapping. Step 1, revisit your big why. Step 2, revisit your goals. Step 3, prioritize. Number 4, put in specific time-bound measurables. How are we going to track progress? How are we going to know this thing is working? How are we going to know? And part of that is, remember, you're changing for a reason. So you're measuring progress towards the change, not just measuring dollars and cents. Those are important, but whatever change, whatever reasons you're using for making this change, then track your progress towards that end goal. Put in specific dates and times and where you intend to be. And sometimes you don't make it, and that's okay. We look at the why. Why didn't we make it? Not whose fault it was. It's about the why, not the who. And we adjust and we move forward. And lastly, number 5, revise based on what we measured and what our result was. If things are going well, then ramp it up, continue. If things weren't going so well, adjust and move forward. So step 5 is simply revise, adjust, redo. Revisit your why. Is it still valid? Is your why still valid? So guys, this thing is, it comes back to the why. It comes back to strategy. It comes back to prioritizing, dealing with your goals, your setting aside time to plan, marketing, sales, your people, your processes, measuring it, plan, measure, adjust or revise, and redo. This is what you do in business. This is how you steer this thing. This is how you run your business, and your business doesn't run you. I intended this to be, for real, a short 5-minute video, because I'm tired. I've been moving. Mentioned that on yesterday's video. In the process of moving back to the Atlanta area, and so I'm tired. It's been a long day. But guys, this is clearly something that needed to be said. This is really what you do to plan a business, to run a business. All of those steps. Now, I can get deep down and dirty into each one of those steps, but every one of those steps is actually, literally, I just gave you a $5,000 consultation. It's simple. It really is that simple. It's not easy. So let's not let our business run us. Let's run our business. Use the tools that I've provided below. If you enjoyed the video, please thumbs up. Like the video, subscribe, share it with a friend. You are doing them a favor. You are doing me a favor. I am here to serve. My name is Dale Myers with Vision Advance. Let's continue to support each other and grow. We'll talk soon. Goodbye.